So the reason no one, but especially young people, shouldn't listen to the Dave Smiths and Candace Owens and any of these people about Israel is because these groups, these Nazis, have been around a long time. I mean, I know I've said that before, but I've been reading this book. Yeah, Hitler's American friends, the Third Reich supporters in the United States. There was a lot. They got into, that's when they got into, the Nazis got into the universities in the 30s. That's how long the universities have been crap. Mm-hmm. So, and got into the universities to where after World War II, it was acceptable to push Nazi propaganda, and no professors would push back. So it's been a problem since even before World War II had started. Yeah. Because we had so many people here that loved the Christian, or loved the Nazis. I don't know. I think it's like a spell that comes over them or something. I think a lot of them came from Europe, to be honest, and then, would pull people in. So, one of the groups that is talked about in this book is called the Christian Front. They are a Catholic organization, and they were so close to overthrowing the country. They were close to overthrowing our government, the Catholics, that called themselves the Christian Front, and they were anti-Semitic. So FBI files shine light, this is from 2022, on homegrown Nazi plot to overthrow the U.S. government during World War II. Yep, it was them. In Nazis of Coldplay Square, historian Charles R. Gallagher argues that the widely overlooked Christian Front posed a true threat. They did. They absolutely, and they got off, and then they all raved because they said, we knew we'd get off because it was Kennedy. There was some Kennedy that was on the court or on the bench, but everything you look into says that it wasn't a Kennedy that was related to JFK. Yeah, well, whatever, or the Kennedys in general. I call bullshit on that. And here's why I would call bullshit on that, is because it all started with this guy, Father Coughlin, okay, who just happened to know Joe Kennedy, of course. And so he had a radio show, and he pushed anti-Semitic nonsense and pro-Nazi nonsense. Not only that, his radio show was called The Golden Hour, and that's what he pushed. So getting into people's homes every night, pushing that. You see how they were able to. That's the reason why many Americans didn't seem to care about the atrocities. But he also had a periodical that he would put out called Social Justice. Catholic radio station. Do you see the pattern with now, of course, the Catholic Church says we didn't support this. It's just funny how all of the people that you say that all the time, but then you have that mass child abuse problem. It's like, why does everybody just join your religion to abuse children or to become Nazis and they can hide better? I don't know. It just seems strange to me that you have such this strange history. So his Social Justice was an anti-Semitic political periodical published by Father Charles Coughlin from 1936 to 42. It was controversial and printing anti-Semitic polemics such as the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. Coughlin claimed that Marxist atheism in Europe was a Jewish plot against America. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff, the same stuff that they push today. In 1934, Father Coughlin founded the National Union for Social Justice, a nationalistic workers' rights organization. Its leaders were impatient with what they considered the Roosevelt unconstitutional pseudo-capitalistic monetary policies. Yeah, so he seems like he definitely had a goal from day one, but it is because of his radio show that the Christian Front was formed. This was the first 11 men of the Christian Front. It was founded in New York and spread to other cities, heavily comprised of Irish and German American Catholics, notorious for anti-Semitic rallies, boycotts, and violence. Members were involved in bombing plots and were indicated for conspiracies to overthrow the U.S. government, though most were eventually acquitted, causing lasting scandal. Because they carried on after they were, that we knew we'd get off because we know Kennedy. We know the Kennedy son. But supposedly, I think it was a Kennedy that was, the judge. When you look into it, says there was no relation to the Kennedy family. So I don't know why they were saying that, though, because it seems there was some ties there. There definitely were ties with Joe Kennedy and Father Coughlin, okay? Because Roosevelt was getting concerned about this Father Coughlin because he was so off the rails. And so he had Joe Kennedy go and talk to him because Joe Kennedy had known him. Of course, Joe Kennedy would know him. Joe Kennedy hated the Jews too. So, but anyway, that book also talks about how even members of Congress were Nazis. Yes, they were pro-Nazis. Our country's been infiltrated with it so much since the 30s. And the America First term has been used before. It was used by Woodrow Wilson, but it was used by the Christian Front. It was used by the Christian Front. So, and who was the Christian Front? They were a Catholic group. But they were that's how dangerous they were. So, is that they were close to being able to overthrow the country. So then look at the Kennedys. I said this recently, no evidence to this, but I'm just saying that there may be some people that were trying to, that knew America, because I'm telling you, there was something more going on with that JFK's administration. They wanted they weren't going to leave, let's put it that way. And National Geographic, the Nazi who infiltrated National Geographic, Douglas Chandler, a World War II era contributor to the magazine, harbored a treasonous secret. They got in everywhere. They did. They came into the universities with propaganda pamphlets and flyers, hating all over the Jews. And they came in as calling themselves as the Paul Reveres. So they're heavily in our country. I don't know what we do about that, but they're a disgrace. And it's time that something has to be done about it. I mean, legally, we don't need this ugliness. These people are ugly. So that's who Dave Smith is. They're gonna make it like it's all about the government of Israel. No, they hate the Jews. Just recognize that's what they know. They don't want to get caught. They're already caught. Dave Smith, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, everybody knows who they are. If you don't, just go on any social media and they're not hard to find because all they do is hate all over the Jews, okay? But they wrap it around that Israel is committing a genocide and they are not, okay? But these are who these people are. You got to wonder, are they just born this way? Because it's sick and it's twisted. So that's the reason not to listen to any of these sickos.